How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to be heading into the next What If Damon Was in Dragon Ball. Most of you probably thought we were going to be moving into the Battle of Gods arc next, but we're actually going to be heading into the events of Dragon Ball Fighterz. Now, I bet you guys are like,
"Hey yo Damon, what the hell are you doing? Fighterz isn't canon to the story. Why are you adding non-canon video games? I is very anger, unsubscribe, blah blah blah."
well, Fighterz would be a very important part of this series, and it makes sense to add it in, especially due to what the Red Ribbon Army has achieved in this scenario. Before we get started, I have two special shoutouts to give. First is to all of my amazing patrons, as we have Dreadpool, Patrick Sandlin, Mr. Darkness, John Lister, Jared, Robert Gregory, and Andy. Thank you all so much for the support. The next shoutout is to my good friend Noah, who you may remember from the What If livestream we did a little while ago. He wrote pretty much the entire Fighterz section for this part, so my entire thanks to him for pretty much writing this whole part himself. Thanks a bunch, Noah, you're literally a god. Now, let's dive right into this video. We begin right after the events of the Buu saga, with me, Karis, and Piccolo doing our best to take care of Kid Buu. Kid Buu isn't a monster like the canon version, he's just a slightly less annoying version of Fat Buu. Taking care of him is easy, as we just need to give him candy and train with him, and he really enjoys himself. Of course, I can't take care of him forever, as he would want to go out and do his own thing, just like Fat Buu did, and I can't stop him, and I can let him live his life. He really enjoys himself too though, and I know he'll never forget what I or anybody else did for him. I'm just happy we actually have Majin Buu on our side. The only thing I have to remember is to make sure he doesn't eat all the pudding at Bulma's party. I'm very worried for when Beerus eventually does show up too, as even though I'm very powerful, I'm nowhere near Beerus in strength, so hopefully if he finds out I'm from another world, he won't completely destroy me. I have a little while until he shows up though, so I got nothing to worry about until then. I am very wrong on that though. One day while I'm training with Piccolo, I noticed something very odd. Karis hasn't returned from Earth yet after her daily patrol. It's been quite a number of hours, and even sensing her is a little hard. I begin to get worried and notice that all my friends' energies are going down, and I can barely sense them. Something very wrong is happening, and I need to find out what. I summon the Dragon Balls to the lookout and give them to Piccolo, telling him to stay there and use them if anything happens. I go down to Earth to find Karis, of course, as she's priority number one for me, and the moment I land in the city that she was patrolling in for that day, I feel extremely woozy. It's like my energy is being drained. I stumble around, not knowing exactly what is happening. Is this poison, like in Planet of the Eradicate the Saiyans? I have no more time to think, as I can't even walk anymore, and I collapse to the ground, unconscious. The Fighterz story begins with a major change right off the bat. Instead of a soul being linked with either Goku, Frieza, or 18's body, it's planted within mine. Just now waking up in the laboratory, I see all of my past trauma, ever since I arrived in this dimension, over my friends dying to the army, and what they did to Karis and myself. I am infuriated, instantly realizing upon regaining consciousness where I am and what this all means. I was kidnapped by a Red Ribbon Army member, and once again am being held in restraints with no control over my well-being. Upon breaking free from my restraints, I am met by a revived Android 16, who immediately went on to claim he figured those restraints weren't going to be an issue for me, that he can now explain the true purpose of me being here. Still infuriated, rightfully so, I ask what that may be, as if I remember correctly, he straight up left this timeline with Cell. But 16 goes on to state something that sends a chill down my spine. He is not the original Android 16 that I know. He isn't a cyborg creation, but a fully mechanical 16. He also reveals to me that another android has been born. Shocked by this revelation, and moreover knowing what 16's morals entail, I question how such a thing is possible. And if this is 16's way of saying that he caused all this. 16 responds by outright stating he did not cause this, but he knows what did, and he largely fears what's ahead of them. 16 explains to me the secret project of Dr. Gero, roboticizing his family over the years. Thus, this is how he was truly created, as 16 is actually an exact model based off of Gero's son. Of course, 16 also went on to explain how Android 21 is actually a female human who became an android created by the Red Ribbon Army. Following her awakening, not only did she completely remake 16 from the ground up, but she journeyed off to Namek and used her Dragon Balls to revive Frieza, King Cold, Android 13, 14, 15, and 19. Lastly, 16 explained the purpose of the linking system, which is to satisfy 21's corrupt side, as her cells tend to run rampant, sending her into a berserk frenzy of sorts to calm her hunger similar to that of Super Buu. She turns fodder into candy and quite obviously eats it, not only boosting her power level, but the more powerful the warrior absorbed, the more powerful she becomes, and the more her hunger is satisfied temporarily. Now, I of course have played Fighters in my other life, and I'm aware of 21's existence, but I did not expect it to show up at this point in time, or 16 being returned to life, and all of these villains being revived. Especially Frieza and King Cold, which are both very bad news. 16 also reveals he's aware of my situation and how I came to arrive in this world. He apologizes for the torment inflicted upon me by his father, and goes on to explain that the restraints were in case he did not make it in time to explain, just in case I completely destroyed the surroundings of where I was. And of course, I appreciate 16's honesty, and being aware of his true nature, accept his apology and tell him it's in the past. But that next time he wants help, a simple greeting and asking me would suffice. 16, upon hearing this, laughs uncharacteristically, and says he's glad to have me on board. I tell 16 this is going to be handled correctly, he must not hide 21's condition from 17 and 18, as I am well aware of 21's plans to involve them in this. 16 explains that he knows that, but if he immediately explains this upon their arrival, 21 may not only overhear, but immediately wipe them all out if she is consumed by her hunger and feels a threat. And I completely understand now that there are only a couple ways to go about this, and he believes he has the perfect plan in mind. While 16 and I sort out our first move as a unit, Android 21 is off absorbing the clone she created, in a somewhat failed attempt to satisfy her hunger. In this time, she kidnaps Android 18, staging an attack by returning cold on 17's island to garner attention. Knowing full well that they could not gather any energy readings during this time, those frequencies being sent out by the machine, neutralizing nearly all energy users. Making it seem as if she is injured and unaware of her surroundings, 17 rapidly approaches to find out what the commotion is about the island he's patrolling, only to see his sister on the ground, confused next to a woman in a white lab coat with a Red Ribbon Army logo. Instantly, 17 questions this, raising a hand to summon forth a blast, instantly erasing 21, before even learning of her true identity. She is stopped by 18 though, who is confused about everything taking place, and believes this woman can fill them in, demanding 21 begin explaining immediately. 21 goes on to explain that a machine is currently sending out waves neutralizing the Earth's warriors' powers completely. She convinces the two that she is on a mission to gather the Dragon Balls to return everything to normal. What makes this believable is her having difficulty making contact with everyone, while everyone's energy is down. Thus why they mostly travel in Bulma's ship in the game. What really catches the twins' attention is 21's claim that her protector as of late is Android 16. Upon hearing this, the two immediately demand to be brought to him, as they obviously intend to reunite with their brother. 21 brings the pair to the lab, with the idea that the two androids will reunite with 16, thus establishing further levels of trust that allow 21 to control their every move, through her acts and emotions. As seen in Fighters, as long as her good side and corrupt side are one, she will most definitely be driven insane by her hunger, leading to her doing things very uncharacteristic of her good side, such as manipulating the other androids into assisting her, in satisfying her hunger and thirst for power. While this plan would have normally taken her far, this scenario is indeed about what if I was involved. So in line with Goku's first meeting with 21 in the destroyed laboratory, she's shocked to return to the lab with the twins only to see the Z Fighters waiting there for her in the form of Goku and Krillin. But in this version, Piccolo and Kid Buu are here as well. 21 is furious to see 16 and I at the forefront of this stockpile of heroes, as this largely suggests that she has been betrayed. When asking 16 about what this is, he simply states that this is the same group of warriors whom defended Earth many years ago, against what once was the Red Ribbon Army's perfect creation. And I quickly finish 16's statement with, "And we're the same group of warriors, we're going to do it again. Even while faced the mechanical army's last-ditch effort of a weapon, we will never let you conquer our home." Goku, merely excited at the idea of fighting, turns Super Saiyan and steps up to fight 21 on the spot. 21, frustrated at this blatant act of rebellion by that of her own, quickly turns to Goku, scowling while muttering, "Just how in the hell did you all get here so fast?" As she asks this question though, her facial expression quickly changes as she easily recognizes that this is Goku, easily the most appetizing of all meals to her in terms of the power it'd gift her. With this knowledge being apparent, she immediately follows up by asking if this was instant transmission that Goku just used, in which he responds yes, confused on how she would know such a thing upon only seeing it once. 21 quickly disperses her aura, signifying despite her apparent frustration, she will not be fighting. When asked about this by Goku, she confirms that she always saves the best for last. If you've played the game, the My Sweetie Goku scene is definitely playing in your head right now. Goku quite obviously spooked out by this android's strange attraction to him. He goes on to take a fighting stance and stating if she's so confident that he can be absorbed, to try her luck now. 21, however, grins, eating the remote emitting the waves as she did in canon, brushing everyone off there as if they were no threat to her, and mimicking instant transmission perfectly after only seeing it used once, the same as Buu did. The Z Fighters take notice to this, as not many besides those who have trained with Paibara have been able to replicate such a technique so quickly, especially as a means to escape. Following some reconvening, the Z-Fighters ultimately come to the conclusion that while they still cannot count on me to handle all of the Earth issues, solely because I have all the information on this timeline's events, my natural ability and overall strength is crucial to this fight, as my finishing technique, which tangles one's mind, will be the key to defeating 21 once and for all, which most of Z-Fighters seem to agree with the exception of Goku, who really just wants an all-out fight, but obviously understands what's at risk here. Will do what's necessary to protect the Earth and his loved ones. An android's power level cannot be sensed, but 21 made her whereabouts obvious by leaving a path of destruction in her wake, as she begins to run rampant, feasting on clones while in search for massive power levels. The Z-Fighters finally catch up to her, with Krillin using a solar flare to throw 21 off and ultimately blind her. Piccolo and Buu respectively use their extendable arms to hold 21's limbs from a distance, while I get up close. As I do so, I begin the Mentaru Burriku, which for the first time ever, has the reverse effect. Instead of mangling her mind further, since her mind is relatively destroyed, as is from the constant struggle for control between her two personalities, this balances her mind, briefly giving her full control over herself, long enough to explain that there truly is no stopping her corrupt half. She feels as if the only way to solve this is to eliminate herself from the equation completely, which both 16 and I immediately object to, as we don't desire to see someone who has done really no wrong, or wasn't in control, to suffer. 21 thanks us for our concern, but assures us not to worry. I prepare to fully eliminate only the evil half of her mind, basically killing her from the inside out of her own brain. But before this could take place, the Mentaru Burriku unexpectedly cancels out due to overuse. I curse myself as large amounts of intense evil aura seeps from 21, who screams in anger and agony from the embarrassment of being held long enough to have her pure-hearted side regain control for even the slightest amount of time. This is where things get interesting. Such anger pouring out of her begins to obviously react with her cells put inside her that originally belonged to that of Buu. During the Buu saga, while driven to extreme lengths of anger and disappointment over Mr. Satan's and a puppy's apparent demise, his evil side and side of pure heart split, thus battling it out on the spot. While we all know the ending of that story, something similar takes place here. 21's power erupts, sending a large white flashing light everywhere, similar to that of the solar flare. When the light dissipates, our heroes are left with nothing but a dark purple smoke and aura everywhere. As 21 looks on in horror, the darkest form of herself is staring right back at her. A nightmare come to life. Evil 21. And that's where we're going to be leaving this part for right now. Hope you guys enjoyed the beginning of the Fighters portion of this story, and hope to see the next one. Next time we're going to be facing off against the evil Android 21, and even see what the other villains are up to. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching, and until we meet again, see you later!